you speak, are you speaking, baby? So you'll use that microphone right there. Remind me how to turn that cigar on.
I've already got it on. So if you want somebody to turn somebody on, just click on their person and then turn them off. Click on the X.
And that tracking cam, that's
And
Okay. I'm gonna call this this meeting, the Venus Independent School District regular school board meeting, to order on March 28th, 2022, at 7 o'clock, and we have a quorum. If everybody please stand. Jay, will you lead us in the invocation?
Dear Lord, Heavenly Father, this coming tonight, Lord, just thank you for the chance to be here, Lord. We'd ask that you just be with us and give us guidance tonight, Lord, on any decisions that are made, Lord, that they would help this community and our schools and our kids, Lord. Lord, we'd ask for our kids' safeties at school every day and our teachers, Lord. Lord, as we moving forth, Lord, working on maybe a bond issue, Lord, I just pray, Lord, that you'd work in the minds of moms and dads, Lord, and give them guidance in this thing, Lord. I'd ask that you'd watch over everyone here tonight, Lord, and keep them safe. Ask all this in your holy and precious name. Amen.
Amen.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, so we're going to welcome everybody. I don't believe anybody signed up for comments, so we'll skip item 4. We'll go to item number 5, presentation of campus reports and recognitions. Anybody?
We'll say the first.
So,
Okay, for the primary school, none of my staff members have shown up, and that's ultimately my fault because I failed to remind them about the updated board meeting tonight. But we did take pictures, and they were super excited last week when we announced him. For our student of the month, Max DeFeeti, he's a kindergarten student in Mrs. Dunn's class. He has made great strides in maturity in class and in the halls. Max always has a smile on his face, is a hard worker, and an outstanding listener. Bragged that he was student of the month to every adult he saw in the hallway, so it was a lot of fun. For our staff member of the month, we have Stephanie Garrison. She is our life skills paraprofessional. She goes above and beyond to assist our life skills students in the classroom at specials and always volunteering to help in areas of need. She advocates for her students and is a great support system for our life skills classroom and all students also. And then our teacher of the month is Leslie Fira. She's a first grade teacher, and she does amazing things with her students. They're always engaged and ready to learn. She puts in extra time to make sure her students' classrooms are ready for the coming week, and every free minute is a learning opportunity with Miss Fira. You may even see them reading sight words while waiting for their friends to finish up during restroom breaks.
Okay, for Venus Elementary, our student of the month is a 4th grader, Rowdy Walker. Rowdy is a hardworking 4th grader at Venus Elementary. He is very respectful and a very kind young man. He's always there to help out his friends and his teachers. Rowdy is determined to be successful when it comes to his academics. His goals are big, but he is doing an awesome job in reaching them. His teachers are extremely proud of his work this school year, and he is a great example of a Venus Bulldog. Our staff member of the month was Debbie Fruit, our secretary right there in the front. Debbie Fruit supports Venus Elementary Bulldogs while working in the front office. She is in charge of many things that our teachers and staff could not do without. Mrs. Fruit always has a smile on her face and has a good rapport with our parents. She is genuine and sincere. She works very hard to keep the front office running smoothly, and she is very selfless when it comes to her job. This campus would not run as efficiently without her, and we appreciate her so much. And then our teacher of the month is Wendy Stendabaugh. She is a 3rd grade teacher. She works incredibly hard for her students. She believes in each one of them and is their biggest advocate. She is often found celebrating with them when they are victorious and problem solving to help them when they are struggling. Students in her classroom learn not only the academic skills to be successful, but also social skills. She makes sure she builds confidence in all of her students. Mrs. Stendabaugh is not new to teaching, but she's new to Venus, and we are so glad to have this bulldog on our team.
All right, I'm just going to say when your name is called, please stand. So my teacher of the month for March is Miss Brooke Reeve. All right, Miss Reeve works tirelessly for kids. She took on STEM this year, as most of y'all know, which completely changed what she was teaching. On top of that, she continues to teach 8th grade science, GT, and coach TSA kids. When the high school kids reached out and wanted to do some competitions for TSA, she offered to coach those events also. She continues to do whatever it takes for our kids on a daily basis, and we are super lucky to have her. I have your thing. Okay, she's super excited. All right. Our support staff of the month this month is Miss Cindy Younger. She was here. Y'all all know Cindy, and now she's moved to be with me, Mr. Moore. He keeps trying to take her back. She is our March support staff of the month. She comes to us after a tragedy on our campus, and she stepped into a difficult role and position and has made the transition with ease. She's quickly earned the trust and support of our entire staff. She immediately made herself invaluable on our campus, and we are so happy to add her to our campus. And no, you cannot have her back. All right, and then my last one is our student of the month, Jennifer Sainz. She's an 8th grade student. She's our 8th grade student of the month for March. She has really worked hard this year to make sure she is successful, both academically and with behavior. She strives daily to be the best that she can be, and we have seen her mature and become an outstanding young lady and a great example of a bulldog. So. All right. Let me pass off to you.
Pass it off. Excuse me. My student, Venus High School Student of the Month, is Miss Jackie Camarillo. Jackie is kind, hardworking, and just plain awesome. She is an outstanding student who always rises above expectations and gives a new meaning to the word dedication. In addition, Jackie Camaro is an extremely creative writer. In her last essay, her teacher really had to dig deep to find anything to correct on the paper. She had valid arguments and evidence to prove her claims. She will also help other students with writing when needed. She is an integral part of the Key Club and helps out the community whenever she can. Venus High School Staff Member of the Month is Mrs. Amanda Cox. Ms. Cox is a special ed aide at Venus High School. She works hard to fill in the gaps and meet the needs of the SPED students she services. She really goes above and beyond to ensure their success. She energizes kids to get their lessons complete and holds them accountable for raising their expectations for themselves. Thank you. Venus High School Teacher of the Month is Coach Brian Garrison. He's a coach and U.S. history teacher. Coach Brian Garrison helps out whenever and whenever he's asked, with no questions asked. He's well respected by students and staff. He even scraped ice off all the cars during our recent bad weather event. He has embedded himself into our district and has made big impact on our teachers, coaches, and students.
You know what? Not that being a campus administrator is hazardous duty or anything, but 50% of our principals over here are looking like the walking wounded. We got one in a sling and another one on crutches. So these ladies have put in a tough year already. So thank you very much, ladies.
Thank you. Okay, so we're gonna go to item number 6, presentation by Wildlife Fisheries and Ecology Management students of VMS Hydroponics Lab. Ms. Megan Gibson, and we got all the students, okay?
And she's the teacher.
Okay. Just push that little.
Okay, so I am the wildlife and fisheries teacher at Venus Middle School, and this is Clarissa Ramirez. She's going to talk to us a little bit about our aquaponics system, what we do, what we've grown, what we've learned from it, those kinds of things. You got it.
So like Ms. Gibson said, my name is Clarissa Ramirez, and my partner's name is Kylie Spray. Unfortunately, she could not attend today's meeting because she went to the track meet, but we came here to talk about our aquaponics system and how we plan on using them. So to start off, what are aquaponics, what do they do, and how do they work? To sum it up, it's growing plants in the same water we raise our fish in, and it's all natural based. And each component, as you can see in the graph, is really important. Without one, the system wouldn't really go on. So everything relies on each other. It starts off with the fish. The fish produces waste and microbes and anomia, then convert for fertilization for the plants, which then filters the water, which allows the fish to breathe oxygen. And then it continues. The fish go waste, then microbes, ammonia, same thing all over again. So these are the pictures of our aquaponic systems. We have 2 currently in Miss Gibson's second room. As you can see the pictures on the plants, that's where obviously the plants grow. And then on the bottom we have fish. That's where the fish live. And I don't know if you can see real close, but on the first picture to the left, there is a small little tube in the back. That one helps, I think that one pumps up the water, the dirty water, and then it gets filterized into the little half with the white tube on top, which then from the bottom, it floats up and helps give water to the plants. And once the water is clean, it drops to the white tube. What we've done with aquaponics so far is that we've grown chives, cilantro, basil, and oregano. After growing these plants, we figured out that cilantro grows the fastest and it was way more flavorful than what you buy at the store. We ended up trying it and we compared it and it was just way different. So it ended up leading us to our ultimate goal, which was great. I'll talk about it on the next slide. As we were growing these plants, we did come up with a problem while growing our basil. We ended up having mold, and to fix that problem, we had to pull out all the basil, and then we had to pull out the rocks, and we had to clean the rocks, and then we had to put new rocks, and then replant the basil. So our ultimate goal is to have the ability to grow our own salad bar for the students who like salads in a larger system than the ones we currently have. We would like to put this into action because we noticed that what we currently have, it does grow, but it doesn't grow enough for our whole middle school. So it would probably be able to feed only the first lunch we have, a lunch. And we would like to have more because we would like to feed the whole middle school. What we're currently doing right now is that we're growing lettuce and tomatoes in each of our aquaponic systems. We're doing this because me and Kylie plan to go in competition to an agri-science fair project. And what our project is about is the aquaponics tanks to see we want to know which of the plants comes out more rich and more, like I said, more flavorful. We're looking for what it has. The difference in each of our systems is that we're testing how the waste affects plant growth. So in one of the aquaponics, we have 30 fish, and in the other one, we have 15. A fun fact to know is that 2 to 3 times the more food in traditional farming, we use 90% less water than what we use in our aquaponics. The lettuce, if y'all had the salad we brought in, it was seeded on February 16, 2022, and we barely harvested it last Monday. And if we were to think about all the land that's on Earth, you will notice that there's not very much. It's not like we can make another continent or just put more land on the Earth. And aquaponics is a really efficient way to grow more food. It grows faster, and it's, well, from my experience, it tastes better than what we buy from the store. So I think it would be a great idea if we could use aquaponics more, because it's really efficient.
So what did you learn, excuse me, what did you learn from this project that you didn't know about aquaponics?
At first, I really didn't know what it was. I didn't know what aquaponics were. I never even heard of them. And then I got offered the idea that I could team up with someone who has been working with it and been wanting to work with them, because last year we had a small one and she ended up telling me that it didn't work out very well. So this year, it was more about her wanting to explore it and know what's in it. And it basically interested me, and I got in it with her. So it's mostly just like for curiosity. And then once we learned what it could do and how much like power it held or how efficient it is, we decided that it can work for everyone else. And we are growing we have an increasing number of people every year. And our aquaponics, it can like help bring more food to more people.
Yeah, I tell you, the lettuce was good. It was good. Yeah.
Thank you so much. They're great. Yeah.
That was great. All right. We can go to item number 7, presentation of student growth performance update. Dr. Morgan?
It's a tough act to follow.
Yeah.
It really is. She's really good. Okay, so I have a couple of guests with me that are going to help me present in just a minute. But I'm going to go over some different data tonight. So the first one is the one that is the board report. So for this, what we took a look at, we're still looking at our reading and math goals. And one of our areas of focus is really supporting students who are significantly behind their grade level peers. And we identify them as tier 3. So there's 3 tiers of students. Tier 1 is on track with some additional support. Tier 2 is a little bit behind. And tier 3 are those students who are performing 1, 2, even 3 or more grades below level. So this report is looking at specifically those students who were identified at the beginning of the year as tier 3 and being served with our intervention, through our intervention programs. And it looks a little bit different at each grade level, and a little bit different at each campus with how we're able to serve those students. But what we wanted to look at is really what we're trying to get to the bottom of is our intervention system working? Like, is it making a significant difference in the growth of those students? So what you see on there, I know it's very colorful. So for each grade level, the green is just showing the percentage of students who made growth from the beginning of year to middle of year. So for each grade level, you can see the green is pretty high, which is good because number one, we want all students growing. So where it is not 100%, we take a look at the grade and look at those students, and there are a few enough number of students that the interventionists are able to look at them like one at a time. What is going on with this student? The blue is
I have it identified on there as demonstrated significant improvement towards grade level performance. In other words, they are close enough to grade level now where they no longer need to be served through our Tier 3 intervention program. So they exited Tier 3 intervention, if you will. And so you can see the blue bars. And the kindergarten and first grade blue percentage is going to be higher because if you think about it, those kids have less to catch up on. So for a kindergartner to be below grade level, I mean, stop and think about that. Kindergarten is where we start. So for them to catch up to grade level, it doesn't take as much as it does, for example, a 6th or 7th grader who could be behind 2, 3, 4 years. And then in our 9th and 10th grade, the blue there that you see is the students who were being supported through accelerated instruction for English specifically, and were able to pass their retest EOC. And so they effectively were exited from their intervention support. For the yellow, it is the increase their performance level. So that's where we're moving them from that low category or the bottom 20th percentile into the red, or from the red into the orange, or the orange to the whatever the next color up is. And so that one is a little bit trickier because if they were at the, let's just say the 3rd percentile and they grew like a whole bunch, but they only made it to the 17th percentile, then they're not bumping up a level, but they are making like huge amounts of growth. So that's also something that we look at there. So that graph is reading. And then our middle school reading is a little bit different. That is the students who are served through our Read 180 program, which is a separate class for those students who are significantly below grade level. So you can see that blue on the 7th and 8th grade. That's really huge because that means those students who started in 6th grade have exited the program and they've caught up to where they need to be. So that is really exciting. And that program, it takes them at least a year, more than likely 2 years to get through that program.
So on the 6th grade, there's not a blue.
Right, because those students were just identified this year, so this is their first year in the Read 180. And now these are our students who are starting 6th grade are probably reading at 3rd grade levels, some even below. So for them to catch up all the way up to 6th grade, like that's huge amounts of growth. So we don't actually expect to see 6th graders graduate out of it. Like best case scenario is usually mid 7th grade, and hopefully they don't have to stay in it through 8th grade.
The Read 180, when did we start that? Was that 2 years ago?
2 years.
I was going to say it was 2 years ago.
Yes, it was the year that we had to shut down for COVID. And so unfortunately we weren't able to see what that growth that first year would have looked like.
Right.
But our 8th graders were the group that started. And so those are the kids we're seeing successful. So after 2 years of in and out and teachers in and out and students in and out, and it's really incredible to see those kids like caught up.
Okay.
Okay, and then if you want to scroll down, we can go to the math. Same thing, same colors. Oh, I'm sorry. Reading this one, I'm sorry. This is our GT student data. Now, what we're looking at here, the reason why we're only looking at these specific grade levels are these are the students who are served like in a dedicated GT class for like significant amount of time. So on the primary school, our kindergarten, our first grade GT students are served once a week through like a specials rotation. So it's really just a time for them to meet with a teacher, work on a project. It's not really a significant amount of time to see them. We wouldn't expect to see huge amounts of growth or a huge difference made there. Same thing with our 6th and 7th graders. They are being served, but one grade level is served in the Bulldog intervention time, which is only 25 to 30 minutes a day. And the other grade, I can't remember.
They have a class.
They do have a class. Okay. So that grade level, we just missed that data, so I'll collect that and get that up. Get that there. The reason why these colors are a little bit different is, so the green has still showed growth. So we do want to see our GT students growing, but here's the thing with our GT students. These are high performing students. And so their growth is not usually like in huge numbers like the students who are like tier 3, because they're already pretty close to like at the high end of where they need to be. But we do want to see them growing. We don't want to see them regressing. And so anytime we don't see growth, we want to stop and look at what's going on with that student. Why are they not growing? The blue here, this is a new bar, is maintain performance in that top quintile. So that's something we saw last year, was the students who were in our GT program would start off in the top 20% and then they regressed. And that was like a huge like, whoa, wait a minute, why is that happening? What are we doing? And so that is one reason on the elementary campus, we asked to have a full-time GT teacher who could really work with those students, and she has each grade level for a full day. And so she is able to do all sorts of projects with them and the reading and the math. And so she works with them together. So second grade, they all maintain their performance in that top quintile, but not all of them you can see grew. So that's one of those like interesting phenomena. If you're already performing at the 93 percentile and you didn't grow, you could still be performing at the 90th percentile. So it just depends where they started. So then we have the yellow is the increased performance level. So we did have some kids who did not start in that top quintile. Some started in the middle or the fourth one. And so we wanted to see, are they growing? And then the red is they decreased their performance level. And that is usually going to be tied to the lack of growth. And so those are kids who were like right on the border. So if they were like, let's say they were the 81st percentile at the beginning of the year, and they either didn't grow or they only grew a smidge, and now they're in the 78th percentile, it bumps them down like a color bracket, if you will. So that is how our GT students are doing. And so that's something the GT teachers are looking at and thinking about what does each child need and what can we do to make sure they are being as successful as they can be. Okay, now we'll go on to math. So same things here. So you can see in math, the green is the growth, which is all very close to 100% or 80% or above, which is fantastic. We do see students exiting out of tier 3 at the lower grades, much more so than the higher grades, because again, there's more to be caught up on. And then increasing their performance level. And then the same graph for GT students in math. Are there any questions?
No questions?
Okay. So the other piece that we wanted to show you, and I'm going to invite Kim Hill to come on up here. Kim is our blended learning coach, and last year she was our Read 180 teacher specialist, and so she is an expert on small group reading instruction in the secondary grades. Which is a hard thing to do. And so we've asked her to be our blended learning coach because that's where our blended learning grant is focused. And so she's able to support all of our 6th through 9th grade reading teachers and all of our 6th through 12th grade ELAR teachers with doing this thing called blended learning. And as a part of the blended learning grant, we were asked to identify our growth progress measures based on the STAR test. And a really weird thing happened that we discovered was the state did not produce those results for us. So we didn't know to look for them because the state didn't create that data, and so they didn't send it out. So we didn't know to look for it until our RBL coach asked Ms. Hill, hey, I need this data. And so she was able, because she's amazing, to pull up the data that we did have and make all of these calculations. It was pretty tedious for her, but she did it. And so we are able to look and see what our student progress measures are for reading and math. And we just looked at our current 6th through 9th graders.
Just my agenda. Okay. Hi. Can I extend on her Read 180? The first year that we had it was just for 6th grade. It was 2 classes of students of 15 each, so there were 30 students. And those were the ones who went home for spring, for March of 20s for spring break and didn't come back. And as the online teacher, I was doing all of the 6th grade reading, like all the students from the Read 180 to the highest kiddos all day. The majority of my students showed up for online, but of course, strugglers who are multiple grade levels behind, you don't want in front of you what you struggle with. So they had the least amount of participation online. Those are the kiddos I had to follow up the most on. And when we came back in the fall and we had 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, and they advanced to 7th grade, we were only at 50% until after December. So again, you know, we started out with 2 classes. We have 1 class and a few extra because of students who transferred in. But I strongly believe that it would only have taken them the 2 years, that original group, had they not been home from basically March of 2020 until, you know, December or January of 2021. Okay, so data does tell a story. And to me, this is a really great story. I mean, I know maybe looking at it, you might not think so, but through the pandemic, we've kind of, as a society, kind of painted with the same brush when it comes to education and children. And sometimes we don't always remember that children are much more resilient sometimes than adults are, and can, you know, given their proper support, that they can spring back. But it also has to do with when they hit that foundational grade or something that's really important in their learning foundationally, and then it's added, but they got that one piece. So if you look at our current 9th graders, our current 9th graders completely finished 6th grade. They got that middle school adjustment year that is so crucial to kids' success in secondary education, you know, that transition from 5th grade into 6th grade. They did that successfully. They went home for spring break in March of 20 for 7th grade, but they knew middle school. And then they came back in 8th grade. So if you'll notice, their accelerated progress, which means they had 2 years plus growth, because this is a 2-year growth stretch, based on TEA calculations through Lead Forward. It's their calculation. Like, I did the calculations, but it's their formula. They did great. And then you'll notice that 7th and 8th didn't, but our current 6th graders did. In fact, they look very similar to our 9th graders. So then you have to ask yourself, you backtrack, okay, so what happened with our 7th and 8th graders? And I think we've been saying that several times this year. What happened to our 7th and 8th graders? Well, what happened is our 7th graders completed 4th grade. But y'all know it's critical, 5th grade, getting those kiddos prepared and send them off to middle school. They didn't have that. They got sent home. No Chromebooks, no online instruction. Bless their hearts, they donated what they had to the secondaries. So for that reason, you know, we have this in our, you know, 7th and 8th grade. And our 8th graders, our current 8th graders got a full 5th grade. And so they got to complete that, but they didn't get to complete their 6th grade year. So where they were foundationally when the pandemic hit has affected some of our students, but it hasn't affected all of them. So to me, I looked at this and it kind of blessed my heart, because we have some work to do absolutely for those kids who need the additional support, but look how great, you know, other kids are doing. So there's less that we have to scaffold and support than we thought, I think, pandemically speaking, if that's a good way to put it. Okay. And then when you look at our math, which is right below that, you'll notice the same kind of pattern with the current 6th graders, 7th and 8th, but not the 9th graders. And this is the only way I know how to put it. English and math are 2 different languages. And so math, when you're missing foundation, you're literally missing the steps. Like if you have a child who can read skill-wise but struggles with comprehension and you work with that, but math, if they're missing every crucial, critical step that you build on for higher level math, that's why the 9th grade doesn't look the same. They're missing those same steps mathematically. So.
Any questions on this data?
So no progress at all for 9th grade? Am I reading that right?
No, it just accelerated.
Okay.
And for them to earn accelerated, they have to have grown over that time period from May of 2019 to April of 2021. They would have had to have grown 2+ years to get accelerated. Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Any other questions?
Well, I know we still put an incredible amount of work on this specifically, so thank you so much for that.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and for those of you who've never met her, Mrs. Wijden Haddad Gunn,
Sanai.
who is our math curriculum coordinator. And so she had been working tirelessly this year to support our math teachers and to make sure that teachers have what they need so that we can accelerate learning. So we've seen some math data up to this point that shows our kids are growing in math this year, which is really exciting. And then the last document that I had for you, this is not a report from us. This is from NWEA. I thought last month there was a question about what is it looking like across the nation. And so NWEA has done an updated study on student achievement, looking at the start of this school year. Like, where are kids now after everyone's back in school? And so you should have this whole article. We're definitely not going to read this whole thing right now. But if you just want to scroll down, Liz, we'll just look at a couple of the graphs. And what you'll notice is what we thought all along. Those down arrows show you the fall of 2019 percentile, the median percentile, like where kids fell just right in the middle of all of the percentiles, is the circle. And in every single grade level, the median percentile from this fall, 2021, has gone down. So there's definitely significant gaps in learning over the past couple of years. And just like last year, we saw that the bigger gaps were in math. That has shown to still be true. So kids who could already read tend not to struggle as much. Kids who lost learning in math have to catch that up, and that is a difficult process. So that's one piece of it. And then they do have some different graphs. They break it down by demographic, which we have not done this year, but we definitely can look and see how our different subpopulations are doing. But this is also looking at, this is not looking at specifically also students who are coming from a low socioeconomic status, which also is a huge factor in how they've been able to navigate these past couple of years. So that kind of is what it is. And so it matches our data, except for right now we're catching up little bits in math, and we're looking at reading and stopping and saying, okay, like what's going on, so that we can see if we can make similar progress in both areas. Okay. Any questions?
Do not.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, going on to item number 8, presentation of the annual technology department report. Mr. Domain?
Okay. Hello. I'm going to get through this as quickly as possible, so if I talk fast, you'll know why. Because one, I'm nervous, and the other one, I talk fast anyway. So, okay, so every year I give a technology report. All of this is informational. There's going to be some stuff in here that is kind of ideas that we're putting together, plans that we're putting together, but this is also marking my 5th year here, so I kind of thought it would be a good idea to kind of highlight some of the things that we've done in the past 5 years, just to kind of show you where we were and where we've come. So, our current staff right now, we have, come on, me, of course, as the director. We have a junior network admin that deals with the day-to-day stuff on servers, and that's what that job is for, managing most of our servers. We have 2 network technicians. The campuses are split up between those 2 technicians. We have an assistant to the director, my secretary, that takes care of POs and inventory and all that sort of stuff. We have, come on. Oh my goodness. Sorry. We have a senior network admin position, which is currently being filled under a contract with Synergy Technologies. And there's a little star by that. As we grow, it is going to become necessary to fill that position with a full-time position as we grow. Not there yet, but we're getting there. And we also have a mobile device specialist who is Daniel Salazar. Real quick note, these people bust their rears every day for this district. I got to do a shout out to them. So in the past 5 years, we've done a lot. When I got here, one of the things that we wanted to do was put a one-to-one initiative at the high school. We did that. We, of course, now, because of the pandemic, have grown that an extra 9 grades. So we went down to pre-K all the way through 12th grade. We have a one-to-one initiative. Every kid has a device. So we went from roughly 850 devices to 2,500 devices. That's a lot. We put in mobile device management platforms. Jamf is the one that we use for our iPads. Google Management is the one that we use for our Chromebooks. That helps, and Daniel manages those. Pushing out updates, making sure that applications are right, making sure that security is good on those devices. We put in a new server infrastructure. I put a little note there, needs to be expanded for redundancy. I'm gonna get into that a little bit later. We put in a new network infrastructure in the past 5 years. Some of that was done with E-rate funding. A lot of that was done with E-rate funding, actually. Come on. We've actually extended that network, our fiber network, to DAEP, the portable buildings, and the ag barn, which enabled us to put security cameras at the ag barn. We've also put security cameras at transportation. We're going to need additional switches for the new wireless stuff that we're putting in. I'll get into that a little bit. We are waiting on those. We got new wireless infrastructure with Ruckus wireless access points, which is still pending. There is a supply chain issue across the United States, as all of you know. You've heard the narrative. They've just now told me that it's going to be September or October before those things get here. Those were paid for with E-rate funding, so we're good on that. It's just they're not going to get here for a little while. E-rate is, USAC E-rate is offering or is giving extensions for that to make up for that. So that's not a problem. All we have to do is fill out a form and we'll be good. We put in a new print management system with Canon copiers and printer logic to help kind of manage what we're doing, kind of see where our money is going, making sure that things aren't being printed that aren't necessary to be printed. When I got here 5 years ago, we had a single connection to the internet that was 1 gig. We now have 2 10 gig connections to the internet that run in tandem. So we're about 20 times faster to the internet than we were. One of those comes from Region 11, which is they apply for E-rate with that and then pass that savings on to us, so we don't have to apply for E-rate for that. The other one we actually directly apply for E-rate with, that's through NextLink. We get about a 90% discount on that. So that comes to what would be $5,000 a month, comes out to be roughly $500 a month. We put in a robust communication system with MyTel phones and Synapse. A lot of the campuses are using that for their announcements and their bell system. We put in a security camera system, approximately 400 cameras. We have plans, Mr. Hopper and I have talked about plans to move to the system that we have at the Ag Barn and Transportation. It's a little bit of a different system. They're better cameras, more robust, cloud-based. So actually, Mr. Moore and Mr. Hopper and I have been discussing that and possibly doing that within the bond, maybe, we don't know. We replaced all the antiquated teacher workstations that were 8 to 10 years old or older with brand new laptops. We did that right as the pandemic hit, which kind of helped teachers to be mobile. Victoria presented something to y'all last month about kind of what we're trying to do in the classrooms. These laptops are also going to enable teachers to be mobile in the classroom, to move around and interact better with students, rather than being tethered to a workstation that's sitting on their desk. We put in a lot of enhanced cybersecurity measures. I do want to touch on those because cybersecurity is a big topic. We put in a program that we pay dearly for, but it's worth it. You get what you pay for. It's called CrowdStrike. Unlike a lot of the antivirus programs that are out there now, rather than looking at definition files or definition database, it looks at the behavior of what a virus can do. So it sees something that is a viral behavior and catches it immediately. Also, CrowdStrike works on a very low level of the operating system, unlike most of the things that are out there, and it helps to protect us. It has caught a lot of stuff so far. There was a case a couple months ago where a student tried to deliberately install a virus and it caught it immediately, like shut it down. We are also working on alignment with the Texas cybersecurity framework. One of the things that we've done is we are members of a group called MS-ISAC. It stands for, gotta look at my notes, Multi-State Informational Sharing and Analysis Center. Basically what they do is they have a database that looks at, constantly monitors malicious domains and malicious IP addresses out there on the internet, and gives us information on that so that we can take proactive measures to stop that kind of stuff from happening here, stop attacks from those IP addresses or somebody accessing those IP addresses. Last week alone, it stopped 2,829 accesses to malicious domains, either in or out. So, and that's free of charge. That's something that all we had to do was sign up and we're good. And it's a conglomeration of schools and other businesses in the United States that kind of got together and go, okay, let's share this information. We put in an enhanced email security and archiving system called Barracuda Networks, which kind of helps for open records requests and stuff like that. Also blocks a lot of malicious emails that come in. We're still tweaking that because it's new. So I want to talk about grants and E-rate, mostly E-rate. To date, we have earned over $630,000 in E-rate funding. A little bit of a breakdown on that. Operation Connectivity grants during COVID, it was $114,000. E-rate funding, just normal E-rate funding that we file for every year. Cat 1 and Cat 2, we've earned over $156,000, and I told you something about something a couple months ago from the Emergency Connectivity Fund grant for $363,000 for 1,000 Chromebooks. So earned quite a bit of money for E-rate. E-rate's good. Okay, so this year's E-rate, because of the new wireless access points that are coming in, they are newer, faster, stronger. They operate at 2.5 gigahertz or gigabits per second. The switches that we have right now to the wireless access points that we currently have only do 1 gigabit. So we went out for proposal. We filed the Form 470. This is what we want. This is how many switches. This is what we want it to do. And we got 5 proposals back. Dexon Computer Company, SHI, YCM, Advanced Networks, and Synergy Technologies. If you'll notice, Advanced Networks, it's much lower because they didn't propose the correct switch. That's why they're so low. They proposed the wrong model of switch that won't do 2.5 gigabits. So E-rate rules say that when you're putting this through the rubric, the thing that carries the most weight has to be the price. So, of course, Advanced Networks got the lowest price. They were scored higher at 30. All those things put together, Synergy Technologies came up with the lowest or the best proposal. So Synergy Technologies offered 22 switches for $109,000. District pays 15% because of our economically disadvantaged. So we'll only have to pay 15%. That does not come out of this year's budget. We will budget for that for next year. So that basically means we'll have to pay $16,383 for 22 switches, which is, if you look at the breakdown, that's actually $4,965 per switch with our discount. Come on. Advance, please. That's only $745 a switch, which is, for a switch like that, is phenomenal. And that's installed, racked, stacked, configured, everything done. That's not just the switch, we have to install it and configure it. That company comes out, does it, everything's done. It's turnkey. So our overall discount would be $92,838, which would add to that $630,000 that we talked about earlier. Make sense? Okay. Data center. So I told you we had put in a new data center. We did that in 2018. That data center still has some life in it, but the plan has always been to do an on-site redundant array, an on-site redundant data center. So we want to put in a new data center. Basically what happens is the older one, the one that we have now, becomes the failover. So the new one runs everything. This one is a copy, on-site failover. If something happens to this one takes over. We don't have that right now. It's already in the budget. Because of the $363,000 that we got for those Chromebooks, that 1,000 Chromebooks, we don't have to buy the Chromebooks this year. We're planning on trying to do that. And I will come to you next month for approval for all that. This is all informational. This is just letting you know what's coming. This is something that Mr. Moore and Mr. Hopper and I, and actually Anne Marie and I have actually talked about a lot of this too. Again, ideas that we're throwing out. I mentioned that our staff earlier. We're looking at possibly trying to request a mobile device repair technician, and I'll tell you why. Because when the pandemic hit, remember I told you we added 9 grades of 1-to-1. So we added, you do the math, 850 to 2,500 devices. That's a lot of devices. Out of the 2,000 tickets that we have, or close to 2,000 tickets that we have since the beginning of September, a lot of those are over 800, close to 900 are mobile device tickets. And we didn't have that many when we just had high school, because those actually came with an accidental damage warranty. Most of the ones that we have in the lower grades do not have that because it wound up not being cost effective anymore. So it was cheaper to have, it was less expensive to have those without that accidental damage. So the plan is, the idea is to put a mobile device repair technician on staff with the eventuality of having a student program, kind of like a Genius Bar, where students wind up taking over that repair, and it winds up working into P-Tech and CTE and stuff like that. This mobile device repair technician would help to train these students and help to build that program, be their go-to person, with me overseeing that. And then as we grow, that person becomes an additional technician at the time that we need it when we have the other 2 campuses. Make sense? So after the high school building, after the elementary school, or whatever we're going to build. Questions? Comments?
Yes. You were talking about the data center having a backup.
Mhm.
How many other districts have that kind of scenario? I mean, something
lot of
already
them.
said that, so.
A lot of them.
Okay. That's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
Okay.
And rather than doing it when we get big, we should be practicing that now. That's actually industry standard. Industry standard is to have an additional data center, a redundant data center.
Right. The mobile repair technician, I thought we already have?
We have a mobile device specialist.
Specialist. Okay.
That's Daniel. I also want to tell you, he is also kind of my second as far as cybersecurity stuff goes. He actually has a cybersecurity certification called Security Plus. Daniel is a very valuable employee to me. He's very good at what he does. A mobile device specialist, he deals with a lot of the policies and the updates that need to go out. He manages the mobile device management programs and platforms. And when he has time, he helps with repairs. But what he does already is a full-time job. So a mobile device technician would be an in-house person that takes care of all mobile device repairs.
Okay.
And there's enough.
And now, I know I asked that because I was confused. I thought maybe that was somebody that was
Right.
as the technician, but I see what you're saying now.
Right.
Okay.
So Daniel, right now, when we have, as the year goes on, you've got these campuses, and when we have mobile devices that go on the blink or whatever, how do we handle that?
Tickets are put in for those devices. They are picked up. They are assessed. If it's something that we can repair quickly, like a screen or a battery, if we have it on hand, which we have some of those things on hand from broken devices that were just damaged beyond all repair, so to speak. We basically salvaged parts from there. We replace them. If it's something that we can't do quickly and turn it around quickly, we send it off right now. But again, that's more money. So what we're trying to do is do as much of that in-house. What I want to do is do 100% of it in-house.
Right.
That's the goal, is to try to do 100% of it in-house.
But at the end of the year, you're going to have, you guys are faced with, now you've got all of these coming in. While they might have been functional, they still needed work on them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how do we handle that?
That's a lot of times last year we used summer help. We used some summer help to do that. One of the people that we had for summer help, she spent 95% of her time working on devices that we did not send off. Those easy fixes of repairing, putting in a keyboard, putting in a mouse, putting in a screen.
Well, the whole point is that somebody's going to have to repair those things.
Mm-hmm.
We do it in-house or we send them off.
That's correct.
So, and in the summertime, we got to play catch up.
That's right.
Okay.
And like I said, the goal here is to get to a point. The mobile device repair technician is somebody to kind of quote unquote stop the bleeding, to use a phrase, with the eventuality of being able to take that position, help to grow a student program, help to build our CTE and our P-Tech stuff with that. And I mean, lots of schools have done it. It's really the way to go. It's something that I really feel like our students would benefit from.
So it'd be a program where and I hope you don't mind me. So it'd be a program where our kids are learning how to repair these things, and at the same time they're repairing our computers.
Exactly.
So it's a win-win.
It's a win-win.
When we send devices off, what's the turnaround time to get them back into our students' hands?
It varies. It varies. I looked at the statistics on our help desk system, which we put in a new help desk system this year. That's something I forgot to put on here. That actually helps us track who has what device, when, how long. It ties the ticket to the person. It does fees and stuff like that too. But I looked on our system today, and we're looking at an average of most of those things that are going out to be about 10 to 17 days turnaround. Okay. Whereas if we had it in-house, the ones that we repair in-house are quite a bit less than that.
My last question is, do we track, I mean, I was curious about the equipment that we're able to repair versus, or just, it's unrepairable and we have to just replace it. Obviously, is the equipment more at this point, repairable?
Yes.
Are we seeing more of it just being, it's repairable, salvageable versus having to
Most
just replace it?
Most of the stuff that we have is repairable. The things that we've had that are coming in that are not repairable are the things that are like deliberate damage. We've actually had some that people have like broken over their knee just because, or left in their truck and it got flooded, or which is completely damaged. I mean, there's no way to replace that. That's a complete replace rather than a repair. There's no way to fix that. So we've had some of those. The majority of the ones are repairable.
And I say that because it's like when you talk about a technician, it's like, well, gosh, if most of the equipment that is being replaced anyways, but
No. No.
Like,
No,
gosh, it's ill repair.
It's a small percentage that's being replaced.
Okay.
And a lot of times if we get some of those devices that we get in, we're looking at a motherboard that's completely destroyed. Well, but we have several things in there that can be taken off of there. We have a mouse, we have a keyboard, we have the case, we have the screen. So we take all that off of there and use those as parts for other ones that come in. So this one's got a broken screen. We take the screen out of there and put it in this one, and now we've got a good Chromebook, and we dispose of the bad part. That's what I was talking about, one of those quick fixes.
So what kind of money do you think we spend on repairs that go out?
So far this year, we spent about $9,000 so far. Those are just the ones that we've sent out.
Well, just the ones that you fixed in-house, I don't guess that's gonna have no bearings on what went out. You did the same thing here, maybe that they would have done.
Right. Mm-hmm. And that's the point, is to be able to have that person here that can do those kind of things. They can go, okay, this thing has got a bad keyboard and a bad mouse and a bad screen and a bad wireless network card. I've got these parts right here that takes a little bit of time to do each one of those things. We're looking at an hour to an hour and a half to repair that one device. But if I've got the parts here, rather than sending it off, which would cost something close to $170, which at that point, you're getting close to what the cost of the Chromebook itself was. But if we can repair it in-house, we're looking at quite a bit less.
Do you send more out in the summer? I mean, do you have like a bunch that you end up sending out in the summer?
We did last year, and I'll tell you why. One of the factors in there was because we were at the end of the pandemic, and a lot of the students had those devices for more than just a year. So they were, and we didn't have time to train students on the proper use and care of the device. It was we got to do this, we got to do it quick right now. And it was scramble, get the stuff out there. Make sense? So there's a little, we also have a better system in place, like I said, to track what students have what device. It ties that particular asset tag / serial number to that student. Even if they switch that out, like if, oh, this one's damaged, I need to have it repaired, or the mouse isn't working, or the screen isn't working, or whatever, they give them another one. It still has a record of them having that device. Makes sense? So that if there's a damage that's actually assessed to it, we can go back and go, okay, there's a $30 fee that we need to charge the student because there was a broken screen on it, and that's accidental damage, and we need to charge them for that.
But typically in the summer, you don't see a whole lot going
Oh, yes,
out.
we did see a lot this past summer.
But
So
besides this past summer.
don't know that yet because I don't have that data because we haven't actually had a normal summer. This will be the
With
first
everybody
normal.
having the
Yes.
one-on-one, gotcha.
This will be the first normal summer that we have that we have people actually turning those.
Thank you.
I'm gonna say something too. After last summer and the massive amount of things that need to be repaired, we started having teachers check monthly. So
Mhm.
that it doesn't get to the point that it's not fixable too. So
Mhm.
we put some systems in place to help with that too.
Yes, thank you. I forgot about that.
I will say, out of all of the things that we've had to have replaced, some of them are, it's just a $20 charge to the parent. I think we maybe have had 3 or 4 parents that still haven't paid. But we've had several parents who have had to replace the whole Chromebook. Like little brother jumped on the backpack and broke big brother's Chromebook. Well, we charged $150. They came up and paid. We gave the student a different computer. So parents have been very understanding with the new process we put in place. So we're hoping that it won't overload them this summer with everything we put in place to fix things throughout the year.
And as you know, yearly, we also update the acceptable use policy that you all have to approve. And we're also updating the mobile device agreement form that every parent signs. We're going to be updating that, and I'll be pointing out a few of the changes that we're making to kind of match kind of what we're doing now because of we had to change things with the pandemic. We just had to change on a dime, and we didn't have that ability to kind of get that plan ahead for that. So I'll be bringing those to Mr. Hopper and to you guys at a later board meeting, probably before the end of the school year.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right. Go to item number 9, the consent agenda. If there's anything on the consent agenda that anybody wants to pull out or make a motion. I got a motion by Gerald.
I'll second.
Second by Tasha. All in favor? Motion passes. Okay. To item number 10, consider approval of purchase of modular buildings. Is it buildings or building? Maybe
Buildings.
buildings.
Okay. So we've got a few proposals here, and Mr. Nazareth has gathered some of these. And Stephen, you want to address some of these? Sure. I didn't bring my notes with me because I didn't make it to that. No, it's fine.
We got quotes from 3 different companies. We were looking at 2 double classroom buildings that are dry, one for middle school and one for high school, because they are in need of that for this next year. And on average, this one is Vesta Modular. This was a company that I was not very aware of, but they are also in our area. We got quotes also on a daycare building because at the time we were looking at that possibility. I don't think we're looking to do that at this point right now, until we make some decisions on what we're doing with 3rd Street and all of that. But we did get those numbers, which will be nice to have so that we can kind of compare prices from now and into the future. Because when we originally started looking at portable buildings, we got quotes, I think it was in October or November, and the prices have risen significantly just in the last few months. So on the double dry classroom buildings, it's 2 classrooms. I think they're about 720 square feet per classroom. You can see for 2 buildings, is this one still Vesta Modular? Yes. $254,848. That's for 2 buildings. That includes pretty much everything with the delivery set up. They don't do any of the grading of the land or anything like that. They don't provide any of the fire alarm system, sprinklers. That's all on our dime. All of the wiring and network and all of that stuff. So it's on average, it's about $125,000 per building. That's everything to set it up, make it look nice. Yeah, we would be responsible for providing the electric, utilities, water, fire alarm system, sprinkler system if it's required, all of that. And all of the vendors are basically the same. They're including most of that in their price. So on average, it's about $125,000 per building. As you look at the other quotes that are in there, I think it's Ramtech is Palomar's the next one. They're local-ish. They're right down the road. Duncanville, DeSoto, I think, is where they're at. Their prices, and I was looking at this one earlier, and I don't know if they actually listed it on this page, but it's hovering right around $95,000 per building. So they're all very close, very similar. Ramtech is the other vendor that we looked at, and they were the least expensive, $87,525 per building. They're also fairly local. All of these have a turnaround time of, I think she told me about 6 to 8 weeks, because these do not exist yet. They would build these. So it would be a little time for us to get those in. But these are all modular. I think they consider theirs modular construction. The price on those, $87,525, and it includes, they listed everything there, delivery, installation, CMU block, foundation, skirting, all of that stuff is included in that as well. So it would be our recommendation, after looking through all of the quotes, if we could decide on a price per building, maybe and approve up to that amount, so that we can get those two buildings purchased, one for middle school and one for high school.
So the high end one here was $255,000.
Yeah, for both buildings, and then we would, once we got those in and delivered, we would need to look at pricing for what it's going to cost us to set all of our stuff up. So
they're all apples to apples, all the same. One's 87, one's as high as 125, and then there's one in the middle at 90 something.
Yeah.
But everything else is identical.
Pretty much.
And they're all local.
Yes, I think Vesta
local
Modular.
enough.
Yeah, Vesta Modular I think is the furthest one out. But I think Ramtech and Palomar are both fairly close. And we have looked at trying to find some used buildings somewhere. Like we got the free ones from Arlington. Have not had any luck with anybody giving us anything this time. So.
Well, it's kind of surprising on Ramtech. It seems like Ramtech's usually a little more pricier than the others in the past. The ones we've looked at in the past, it's almost like they're way more. So that's why I was wondering. I was kind of curious if there was something missing on the Ramtech versus compared to the other ones, but for them to be where they're at. But okay, so what you're looking tonight is an amount of maybe not to exceed $255,000. Okay, all right, because I know once these are in, then we've got the cost of we've got to run fiber to them, and we don't have the big cost of 3-phase like we've had. That big cost was in there running electric, get it established, so it's not going to be as much. But then phones, etc. So we could be another $50,000 or maybe more. I don't know. I mean, it just seemed like last time around it was like when you started talking about all that, it really started adding up. So
it really did. It really did. If you want to, we can wait till next month and come in with all those electrical so that we can have all those numbers in, or however you want to do it.
yeah, I would like. I would like that once we. I have no problems of putting out a not to exceed amount, and then we can look at, I know the other part of it is a big expense as well, so, but.
You gotta have the building either way.
Yeah, so, I mean, I know we need the building, or buildings, so, I mean, I got that, it's just.
What's the lead time?
She told me, the lady at Ramtech, she's the one that I've talked to the most, just because her and the lady from Palomar, they've been the more vocal. Hey, when are y'all going to do this? Let us know. Most of them are averaging 6 to 8 weeks. Of course, who knows what their supplies look like at this point, and if they're able to get them to build the buildings. But one thing to note too, though, just in the last few months, I think the Ramtech building was $71,000, I think was their original price, and it's already gone up to $87 just in the last few months. So they're only going to get higher from here. So if we could lock in a price now, I would bet that we would probably save a little if we waited, it's probably going to cost us some more down the line.
And then where does this hit on our budget?
Yeah.
Like, where does this money come from?
This
fund balance.
Okay.
This time next year, we're gonna be having to add 2 more buildings?
Probably, yeah.
So if we do, how many more of these can we add without having a wet building?
I guess it depends on what campus, maybe, I don't,
We're adding these and we're using the available restrooms that are there. Pretty soon we're gonna overpower those. And I'm wondering when.
So
They do make a portable gang restroom building. You can buy just restrooms.
And that's a good question. I will tell you, and what other people do doesn't mean that we have to do the same thing. But we had, how many of these buildings did we have over at Mansfield? They don't have a single wet building. And there were all 4 of them that we got this past year. So that doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. It doesn't mean and it may be well and good for them, but for our buildings. There is a point at which we do have to add some restrooms. And I have only half-jokingly mentioned that we have these 2 restrooms over here in the old ticket booth for the softball field that are still quite functional, but and that we could use them out there. So your point is well taken, and that's something we will have to take up in the future, is how long are we going to have portable buildings out there, and how long can we have them there without overuse of our restrooms in the buildings.
Well, I mean, you're not on an aerobic system, so.
Right.
You can take on a lot more people in the restroom,
It's just a matter of kids in the hallways, how many kids are in the restroom, those kinds of things.
I've never heard that before, what she said, the last word she said. They actually make restroom buildings.
You can get a building that is just restrooms. One side's boys and one side's girls, and hallway down the middle, and it's just restrooms all the way down.
Yeah, once you buy it, it's yours.
Yeah, you can't send those back. Nobody wants that secondhand.
If the one of the buildings would be for the middle school, and then one would be for the elementary? High school. High school, okay. But we have room for 2 more, at least 2 more at the middle school?
Yes, sir.
And then we've got plenty of room for more at the high school.
We can fill up that.
We can, yeah, so.
So we don't want to do that, but we can.
But the elementary though, it's gonna be a different story, for the elementary.
I mean, we had talked about adding 4 at one time, those 2 in the back, and having 2 more down the back of my building. And just depending on growth and depending on what Leanne's growth is next year, then we may have to have portable buildings the next year.
Right.
I do need to mention that part of this growth too, and we didn't mention it with this because it's a different funding mechanism, but we are looking at the potential for a out of special ed to pick up another building for special ed. And let me tell you why. We have special ed occupying primary school. One of the things they're doing is they're occupying a classroom. So we need to get them, and there's several people in there, or in their office. we need to pull that out so we need an office building basically for special ed. Once we do that, that frees up a classroom. And then we've got another classroom in there that Mrs. Ortiz is going to finagle some things, and perhaps she can free up 2 classrooms on her campus. So we feel like we've got a little bit of gerrymandering we can do there. If we have to, like I said, in the future, we've got a space for a couple more portables at the elementary, in that line of them that we currently have. The elementary is probably, the primary is not real suited either for portable buildings. The high school is the easiest to fill. Middle school, we've got some options, but right now, like I said, we've got room for a couple more at elementary, should we need them. But next year, I think we're going to be okay.
Okay. So what we need is a not to exceed amount of.
Well, the high end on that is 255, and I don't know that that's the one we would do at all,
Right.
but that would probably be a recommendation, so that in case, I don't know what they're going to come back with at this point.
Okay.
These estimates are
Before spring break, so they're almost a month.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
I'll make a motion for the purchase of modular buildings not to exceed $255,000.
Okay, got a motion by Gerald,
Second.
a second by Katie. All in favor? Motion carries.
I guess, if something don't happen fairly quick, maybe that money don't cover that. So.
We'll look to come back.
Find the best value for the quality that we can.
Right. I feel pretty confident with that.
Thank you. Okay, on to item number 11, consider approval of updated resolution regarding designation as a district of innovation.
One of the things that we have to do as a district of innovation is revisit this based on TA guidance. Is if you've looked at the document, it shows revised 11/8/18. We did an actual revision and changed the document because of something that we had in there. Based on our need and the current benefit of this document, my recommendation is we just do a renewal to keep it intact, and because there's not any changes that we truly need to make at this time. So I would like to make a recommendation to renew the DOI as stated.
Okay. Got a motion by Greg. Second by Gerald. All in favor? Motion carries. Okay, going on to item number 12. Consider approval of resolution of board regarding wage payments during emergency school closing, February 23rd through the 25th of 2022.
So these are those the ice days that we had, and basically makes it to where we don't have to make up those days, and our folks still get paid. That's the 23rd, the 24th, and then the late start on the 25th.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
We got a motion by Tasha.
Second.
Second by Katie. All in favor? That motion carries. Okay, going to item number 13, consider approval of the 2022-2023 academic calendar. Anybody have?
The process that we went through and we go through annually is put together a draft. We put it out to the campuses, let the campus teams take a look at it. They give us our recommendations. We pull it back, make the adjustments, put it back out again, and then draft 3. If you'll notice, and this is very closely tied to our DOI, is we're going to be able to have our new teacher orientation the first 3 days, followed by PD, and then our start of school will be on August the 10th. The only piece that, as far as explanation goes, is one of the things that we looked at was the simple fact that we had some extra closures this year, And based on, it's fairly simple math. There's only X number of days between point A and point B if you want to get out with the kids before Memorial Weekend. So in this calendar, we have 168 instructional days based on our daily instructional minutes. That banks us just a little over 3 days at our elementary and primary campuses just because of time. So what we have incorporated in this, if you'll notice in December, the Christmas release for December is December 20th. Should, God forbid, that we do have a closure that extends those 3 days that we have banked, we built in some kind of modified days. The initial second draft showed the 21st as a PD day, so the teachers can come in, put our semester to a close, and then they would be actually out that Thursday and Friday going into Christmas holidays. That little slash day with the crimson or whatever color you want to put it, should we have to shut down for a week in the fall, we have an additional 3 days built in. It's kind of like the old bad weather days that we've not used in several years, but we just felt like we need to kind of put a little extra cushion in our pocket. Should we not use those, then students will get out on the 20th, and then the teachers will come in on the 21st, and then they'll have from the 22nd until January the 9th for a Christmas break. The same thing holds true in the second semester. We typically would have 2 days after the close of school on May 24th, which would be PD days, bring the school year to a close, allow opportunity for the high school to have graduation practice and all those things, preparing for graduation, which would be on the 22nd. So should something come up in the spring that we have to expend more than 3 days, we have an additional 2 days figured in. Knock on wood, everything runs smooth. School is out on the 24th, and its business as normal. One of the things that we did incorporate in this calendar is from the initial District of Innovation, one of the pieces of the plan was we allow for up to the contractual obligation of teachers is 10 months. That is 187 days, and we've held to that. But within our DOI, we have the ability to move up to 5 days below that and still meet contractual obligations. So instead of 187 days of teaching or work obligation, we've adjusted calendar so teachers will only have to work 185. So that's a little.
Does that affect their pay?
None whatsoever. So it gives them a little bonus with everything that they've been through over the last 2 years. We're still going to get kids taught. We still meet our minute obligation as required by the state, and we have some built-in time just in case we need it through the course of the school year. Any questions?
I have a question. So May the 24th is the last day of school.
Last day of school.
And then the 25th and 26th, the staff would only be here if it's.
Those are both PD days. The blue
It's a lot of color going on those days.
Okay, it's crimson on top, and you ought to try putting that in an Excel little bitty tiny block. But before the adjustment on the third draft, that was a blue day. So those 2 days are actually PD days, which we had long conversations in regards to the blue days. What we've tried to do in talking to the campus principals, when it says PD, it might be a 2-hour, half day, whatever, and then allow teachers to work in their classrooms. We're going to give the freedom to the principals to obligate what time on that day that they truly need them to meet PLC, PD work, that sort of thing. Yeah.
So we feel like that this, once again, after we put out everything and got feedback from our teachers, one of the things that came back was 3 full weekends at Christmas time. Now, it took a little doing to get that, but anyway.
And that's the one thing we have no control over, is that 25th date slides every year. So trying to get adequate time off and still meet all the the academic guidelines makes it quite interesting. But I think this is the best calendar we could have put together for not only our staff but for our students as well.
All right, thank you. Everybody got a?
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Got a motion by Tasha.
I'll second it.
Second by Les. All in favor? Motion carries. Okay. Yes, sir. Yes, let's take a 5-minute break. It's 8:29. 5 minutes. 8:35. And where are we at? We're on item number 14. Consider approval of pre-bond proposal with Huckabee and Associates.
Okay. So on this, this is, again, this is pre-bond. So basically, this is the work that Cameron and Leslie both talked about the other night, and talked about the different groups. The first thing he talked about was the ed specs and the visioning. And so if you look on page 2, first off, this total pre-bond package is $99,000, okay? And now these are the different things he talked about. The first one would be $10,000, and that's the visioning and the ed specs. You know, if you're gonna do, no matter what your project is, you're gonna have to do ed specs. You're gonna have to get that done. So that's the next one on page 3 of 5, you're gonna see the master and long-range planning, and that's $29,000. And gives you the approximate dates there, but the dates aren't the issue so much as again, what he had outlined the other night. Then the third group to come in is on page 4 of 5, and that is the bond planning and information campaign. And that's $59,000. Those three together total up, I believe it's 99,000. Regardless of the project that we do, and you know, we may, just as we discussed the other night, we may come the fall, because we don't know what our taxable values are going to be, and we may look at that and say, whatever big plans we had, they may have to be postponed even a while. We don't know. So, but what has to happen, regardless of what we do need to have our planning in. So that's what this is. This is pre-bond work, so that we're discussing all that with our community, and that's what that $59,000 is in the fall, is those big community meetings. So this total is a $99,000 package, and again, that is the pre-bond work. And you know, when we go through all of this, you know, we may come out on the backside and say, well, our taxable values aren't where we need to be for a big project. We may want to go and do a little project first and then wait another year. But, you know, we'll know that when the fall comes. So I guess what I'm saying is, this is irrespective of the project that we choose to do. This is the work that sets the stage for it, so that when we do go forward, we don't have to go through all this stuff. We've already been through it. So, Cameron, am I leaving anything out?
No, sir. That was very good. Thank you.
So this is a contract we're getting ready to vote to sign?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Can't do it until I take it home, read every word. I don't sign contracts, so I'm done. Yeah, can you look at it?
No, he's not looked at it yet. He has not. So, if you want to do this in April, we can do that. It's up to you.
Do we trust these guys? We do.
Trust these guys?
Well, I'm not sure about
They built most of our buildings in this district.
We voted them to work for us, I hope we trust
Yeah.
them.
They built the building we're sitting in. So,
If we were to wait until after the governor looks at it, how does that push us off? I mean, how is that?
that moves our ed specs and all of that.
A month, but
Yes.
is it?
Well, I mean, all things are doable. It's, but at the same time, what we're doing now with the ed specs, we want to get as much of that done as possible while our staff is here, because that's who's going to be really feeding into that. The more we move this into May, you know, we've just got, it's just an incredibly busy month, but do whatever y'all want to do.
What's his reimbursable expense for pre-bond school, $12,000, like, district, what's that?
It's a not to exceed number, you know, for printing and things like that. It would only be as we're distributing documentation or any kind of meetings that we discuss and then we establish are gonna be necessary. It would all just be for actual physical documentation that we might
is that above the 99,000 or?
It is, but it's a not to exceed number, so it wouldn't, depending on what kind of printing we're doing or what kind of documentation we're doing, we may not even hit that number at all. It may be, you know, a much, much smaller number. That's just from experience of working with different districts and, you know, from the larger districts to the smaller districts, taking a number and saying, okay, here's what we might be in there. But it's, I think, given what we have planned, I don't think we would.
So, and then that not to exceed number is the 12,000, if I read that right, is.
It might be 4,000.
So it could be for, but not to exceed the 12, so, gotcha.
I'm sorry, do I need to stand? I can stand.
No.
If you like.
Okay, this.
And this comes out of our fund balance?
This
This is something that we would assume for next.
budget.
Yes, this is what we would build into 22, 23. Is that correct, Mr. Hopper? Okay, thanks.
Yeah,
I don't have no objection to the governor looking at it, but I mean, I don't doubt the people in the fact that we could vote on it now ourselves.
I know it's, and as Mr. Hopper was saying, it's pretty standard contract practice. And like I said, I've looked through it, and I don't have a problem making a motion on it this evening. But if anybody else feels like they're more comfortable waiting, I understand that as well.
Well, we could, what if we were to approve it pending approval by our attorney?
That's fine if somebody will.
So we can approve it.
You can approve it.
Pending approval.
Pending approval by our attorney.
Pending sign off from.
Yeah, and he'd have that done by Friday.
So.
I'll make that motion.
All right. That's a motion
Approve it,
pending attorney approval.
with attorney approval. Right.
Okay. All right, I got a motion by Les, second by Gerald. All in favor? Motion carries. Okay, once I missed something here. 14, 15, okay, so we're going to item number 15, executive session for, let's say it was 551.074 and 551.076 at, what time we got? 8:44.
Do we need principals?
And Okay, we're coming back from reconvening from executive session at 9:46. Okay, and we're gonna go to item number 17, consider approval of matters related to personnel, resignations, employment, positions, or contract amendment.
We have on the, a recommendation to hire Amanda Ward and Deborah Yates as teachers for Venus ISD.
I make a
Okay.
motion to approve.
I got a motion by Tasha. Second by Katie. All in favor? Motion passes. Okay. Item 18, reports. Superintendent, anything?
We, as I mentioned to you recently, we have hit an all-time high in our enrollment. It's not, it's holding fairly steady, but it's increasing a little bit. 2,309, and our attendance is fluctuates between 94 and sometimes a little bit less than that. So we're working on getting our attendance back up.
Okay. Mr. Moore, you have anything?
Our DAP enrollment at the current time, as of today, was 3, with 1 to arrive tomorrow. So as far as this time of year, that's an all-time low. So good things going on in the district as far as discipline and those sorts of things. I know you had this in your packet, but something that I wanted to just reiterate. Our TSA competition took place, and we've got several of our students that are going to advance to our state level. In high school, Madison Dean is running for state office, for state officer as TSA. There are 11 students competing in 8 events. In the middle school, there are 67 students that advanced in 28 events. And so April 21st to the 23rd, those students will compete at the state level, with many of them having the opportunity to go to a national competition. And the good thing for us this year is nationals is in the state of Texas. So so we won't have an extensive amount of travel, even though there's going to be some rooms that we have to deal with simply because of timing of late events, early morning, those sorts of things. So a great job by that so far. 4 of the state advancing items at high school are the same 4 items that you've seen on the CTE report that have been shown all over the state for the metal fab. So we double dipped them in TSA, and all of those advanced to state.
Thank you. We got our things, our drink holders last week. Those are amazing.
Well, for a nominal fee, I can get extras, man.
I'm gonna steal Joe's.
And I'm sure you noticed the centerpiece in the table. That's from one of our welding students as well. So some great things going on this area, and I'll speak a little bit more after Megan.
I don't have anything to add to my reports, but I did want to let you guys know that we have started working on the 22-23 budgets, working through some assumptions and things like that. What we've done is we've given the budget worksheets to the campus principals. They've handed that out to their staff, to their different departments, and are supposed to get that back to us by April the 8th. And so trying to give them a little bit more ownership in their requested budgets, and having them enter those figures and kind of play around with those requested figures. And then once we get those back and we meet with Mr. Hopper and Stephen and Mr. Moore and myself and look at wants versus needs, things like that. And then as far as the general fund budget assumptions, we've got a pretty good little laundry list of things worked up for you guys, things to consider, such as anything from fuel, transportation, to obviously salaries is our #1 priority for next year, things like that, architect. So just know that we are working on those.
Fuel contract up anytime soon?
Lucky lady,
That I don't know. I'd have to ask Miss Melanie Lee.
Speaking of which, Melanie is piloted, is in the process of piloting an automated system for tracking students on buses. She's doing that, and we're doing that in Patriot Estates right now. So we'll know in about 4 weeks or so how that's going to work.
Haven't we
Is
tried
that
that a few times? I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I was gonna say
The swipe on, the swipe off. I feel like we've gone through many different things to try and get that, and it's just never worked out.
I think there was a system that was tried way before me, and the problem it had is it couldn't map out, according to Kathy, excuse me, it couldn't map out all of our streets, all of our roads. And so they just simply didn't exist on there. So a different group and all of that, and so.
Is this a system that we maybe have looked at or talked about? Okay.
It's the very same folks that you and I talked to.
Okay.
Yeah. I didn't mean to segue, but just, you opened the door.
Yeah, so, it's the pilot program pretty much right now that they're looking at, so. Okay.
Well, I see that being a bigger problem than ever right now with all the new roads that are coming in and might be gonna come in and.
Well, that was the old program. That was a whole completely different bunch. There's also different people that were actually handling it too. So we've got a group that, and that's why we're piloting it.
Yeah.
To see if it's gonna work, so.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yes. Just to FYI, mark your calendars for April the 23rd. It's a Saturday. We'll be hosting our second annual build-off. As of today, we have 17 teams entered with a possible couple of more. One of the things that we're doing differently this year than we did in years past is we're providing all the products for the build-off. So what you see on the screen, Jim Bob sent that to me today. So the teams that come in will be building a fire pit as well as a wok. And our kids are preparing that material as we speak, as far as instead of going out and buying a kit and spending exponential amounts of money, we've purchased the pieces, and it's a matter of cutting the size, getting it all prepped. And so when the teams come in, the finished product hopefully will look very close to that. And they'll get to take those products home with them. So, cool stuff.
Okay. You didn't have anything else for reports or anything, right? Okay. Athletics, you have anything on that? Or do we have any I mean, I know we just had.
Yeah, our middle school's right as we speak, hopefully getting finished at the district track meet. So track season for the middle school will be done officially today. Just a little side note, last week we hosted our annual high school relays, and it was a great event. Went very well, ran very smoothly. And for a Thursday night, for a high school meet, to have the last race run through at 10 o'clock and say goodbye, it was a great evening. So
I heard Booster probably did pretty well too.
I haven't heard any actual figures or numbers. I just know that place was piled up with kids all night. Seemed like, when I would get a chance to look over in that direction, they were doing a phenomenal business.
Yeah.
And the hospitality room was great as usual.
Yeah, well, that's good. I mean, like I said, I know having done those in the past, it's because of COVID, and that really hurt. So it's good to hear that we had a good turnout. 5,000. I heard it was big.
That's good.
It was big. Was that last Thursday? We were here, weren't we? Yeah. So I have an excuse for missing it. Somebody scheduled a workshop, so.
We have meetings instead of track meets.
Does anybody else have any questions on reports?
Yeah, I'm gonna let on reports, I wanna ask you, what about this plasma? We keep talking about this plasma. Whoever we bought it from, it pretty much ain't worked since we've had it.
Mm-hmm.
Have we ever reached out to them?
We've talked to the owner of the company.
And what's he gonna do about it?
They got our money, unfortunately. I mean, we've replaced that, as you can tell, with a smaller unit that does the job. And Mr. Linson's reached out to a couple of other teachers that he knows has the same unit to see if we can get something done. Otherwise, I think we need to push forward and get another system.
Yeah, I do too, but I think right now we're holding our kids back. I mean, we got that program started for them. I mean, we need to come through with what they need to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this thing's been, it's pretty much just been a table from the get-go. It never works.
Right. That's not acceptable. No.
And the biggest aggravating point is we've reached out multiple times, and I know both Mr. Webb and Linson have talked closely to people who rep that product and even up to the owner. The customer service is non-existent.
Okay. Well, anything else? I appreciate it. Go to item number 19, request for additional items on next board meeting for April 18th. And I'll just go ahead. I would be interested if we go ahead and have that presentation on the P20. I know we talked about it last this board for this meeting, but let's go ahead and I think if we've got the time, look at it doing it in April.
We'll talk about naming facilities. Structures anyway.
We can put that on there as well, and have that discussion.
Somebody had asked at one point about, we'd talked at one time about, we got the land that we got, I don't know when we're gonna build on it, don't know what we're gonna build on it. But one of the things we talked about was the possibility of naming some structures. The Harpers, the reason we got that 160 acres is because they wanted to do something for Kids of Venus. And as a matter of fact, they've also since then, and I guess I can say, came across with a substantial amount of money for scholarships for kids. There's no deal on this at all. It's just a matter of, expressing our, gratitude to them. And the other is the land that's around the Sonic. Ms. Garlett's and her sister that sold us that land. They said that the reason they sold us that land was their dad valued education, and these ladies are, they're a little bit older, and so their dad, I'm not sure when he bought that land, but it was a long time ago, and so if we could even come up with some resolution that if you choose to do so, to name a future structure on that property after Guy Walker. That was their dad's name. I've got a biography on him. I've got one also on Stanley K. Harper. If y'all want me to bring that to the next board meeting, I can do it.
I would like to at least, have a discussion, at least, I know we've talked about it many times over at least 2 years. So hopefully maybe we can do something about it, but.
Have the architect put us up a sign or put a sign up, future home of.
As soon as we know what that of is.
Future home of our future school, future Guy Walker School, that's it. Our future, and put it up, take pictures of it, send it to the two ladies so they see it.
If we put this on the agenda, what I would intend to do is invite them. I don't have any idea that they would come. One lives in Midland, and the last I checked, the other one was in Arkansas. They would just be tickled to know that it was, being done. Now Mr. Harper, he might be here. He might be here. Now, and his health goes up and down. His health goes up and down. So, he might be here and he may not. But I can tell you this, if he feels good, he'll be here. So anyway, if y'all would like, I'll put that on the next agenda.
The biographies of each one?
Yes, sir. As a
Yeah,
matter,
I think that's a good idea.
as a matter of fact, I've got we had talked at one point about even building, a veterinary clinic up there, when we do decide to build something up there. And he would be tickled to have that named after him. I said, heck, we might even call the road Harper Cattle Drive. And, he got tickled at that. But I can tell you, they're gonna be friends of Venus ISD, I think, for a long time to come,
And I was just gonna say, I know that in that discussion of this, but I know this was something Les had asked for, and I just wanted to make sure that we at least tried to address it, if, next meeting, if not, then May, but sooner the better, so.
Okay, I'll arrange to put it on next meeting then, and, we'll just do that. But I've got also a letter from the, former governor of New Mexico in support of, Mr. Harper, so he's got a few buddies. So, anyway.
Okay. All right, well, if, nothing else, we'll go to item number 20, adjournment at 10:02.